Good evening. I'd like to call the City of Menasha Common Council meeting to order. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could we have the roll, please? Maybe.
Alderman Ted Grotti.
Here.
Alderman Rapella.
Here.
Alderman Taylor.
Here.
Alderman Sevenik.
Here.
Alderman Langdon. Alderman Kruger.
Here.
Alderman Tom Grotti.
Here.
Alderman Nichols is absent.
The first item on the agenda this evening is public comments on any matter of concern to the city. If you'd like to make a comment, could you please step up to the microphone and state your name and address?
Sandra DeVille Taylor, 545 Broad Street. I'm ill prepared. First of all, I'll kind of just go through this. Item F1 is a presentation. I would suggest in the future, and with all due respect to the guests that are here tonight, this would be more appropriate as a workshop at 5 o'clock, considering it's not staff, department heads, or consultants. All this really does is delay the rest of the night. And so by the end of the evening, people just start voting because they're tired. Under communications, item P, I question why it's even in there because it really isn't anything specifically related to the city. Under minutes to approve, that's what I'm here for. I'll get back to that. Under action items, I-5, that is actually a lease, even though it's been going on for several years. I don't know if it's ever gone before the Plan Commission, and it should. It is a lease of public property, and it should be going through the Plan Commission before it's approved at this point. Item P1, action items. To the best of my knowledge, this has been voted down several times. The council said they want no part in it, but it keeps reappearing. So, then back to the Board of Public Works recommendation for alternate for the intersection of Racine Street and Broad. I am here to say I'm opposed to this alternate. I'm opposed to the fact that while at the Public Works agenda, there's a recommendation to do a traffic study for Fox Street and Mathewson Street, and there's a communication under Public Works to use traffic calming policy that I think that's a double taxation. Here we're taking a street without having a traffic study that we've been told is too dangerous to take a left turn off of. So we're going to put in a median to prohibit anyone from taking a left turn onto Racine Street. However, we want to make sure that the future fast food restaurant that's going to be built at that intersection has ample opportunity to take a left onto Racine Street with no encumbrances. It's hypocritical to say one group of residents are less important than a single new fast food joint that's moving in. For 18 years, I've been detoured. I take a south on Racine Street 3-4 times a day, and I'm detoured to First Street. As far as I'm concerned, what you're saying is that we should have no left turns on any busy street in the city. No one should be able to take a left turn onto Taco, a left turn from Milwaukee onto Main. The mayor should not be allowed to leave his residence and take a left onto Annup. You shouldn't be able to take a left onto Midway. You shouldn't be able to take a left onto 47. I mean, if you really want to get down to it, you shouldn't be able to take a left anywhere onto 3rd Street. Any other intersection on Racine Street, you shouldn't be able to take a left turn. 2nd Street, you can take a left turn, no encumbrances. By the Boys and Girls Club, nobody should be able to take a left onto Racine. You know, over by the high school, no one should be able to take a left on Racine. It's all too dangerous. So I think you're hypocrites. What really needs to be there is the roundabout that is proposed for Main Street and Racine. But, you know, the DOT knows everything except for the fact that DOT doesn't know anything. They don't live here. They're not abiding by the rules. And in fact, all of you should be looking at the big picture. And I noticed Amanda Stuck's here tonight. The Racine Street Bridge is not just a local problem. This has developed into a regional, if not statewide problem. Oshkosh faces this problem. De Pere faces this problem. Now Kaukauna is being faced this problem. This has to do with tourism, the boating groups that are pressuring the Fox River navigational system to get these bridges open, to get these locks open. This should be addressed as a tourism issue and economic development, and not just as a City of Menasha DOT issue. I know Kaukauna has approached their representative Stanky. Oshkosh is in the same boat. De Pere is in the same boat. All of these communities are being forced by the DOT or the Corps of Engineers to have these lift bridges open for the recreational boating. It is no longer for transit, commercial transit, barging. It's all recreational boating. It's all economic development, and it should be geared and looked at as a big issue, and have tourism dollars pay for this, and have other dollars attributed to this, that it doesn't go on the taxpayer back. And then,
Mrs. Taylor, we're at over 6 minutes.
okay, fine, of course you're going to cut me off.
Thank you, Mrs. Taylor. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak tonight?
I'm Representative Amanda Stuck from Appleton, but I just really wanted to quickly say congratulations on getting the grant for the lead-free by delivery. As much as I would like to think that it's all because of my letter of support, I know it's really because of your great and talented staff and the work they've done. I just thank you guys for being leaders on addressing this issue, so thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else this evening? Seeing no one else, we'll move on to the report of department head, staff, and consultants. We do have Chancellor Lovett and Dean Rude here this evening, if you'd. And I think that we have a presentation from a PowerPoint as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and ladies and gentlemen of Common Council. Nice to be here. My name is Martin Rudd. I'm the Assistant Chancellor for Access Campuses, formerly the Regional Executive Officer and Dean at the UW Fox Valley campus. And we're here tonight, Chancellor Levitt from UW Oshkosh and myself, to talk about the 3 campuses, 1 university that is now the reality of the campuses in Oshkosh, Menasha, and Fond du Lac, following the restructuring of the University of Wisconsin system, which for us became official with an announcement in late June that the Higher Learning Commission, our accrediting agency, was giving us permission to become this single new university under the guidance of the UW system restructuring, which was announced back in October by President Ray Cross. Briefly, since October, we have developed 8 working teams and about 35 working groups that have all been tackling how to bring together a mammoth organizational change associated with bringing 3 physical locations under 1 university, and the 3 campuses in Fond du Lac, Oshkosh, and here in Menasha, the campus that you so nicely support and have supported since its inception there in 1960. So our work last year, before July the 1st, was in planning to transition. Our work this year, during the 18-19 academic year, will be on the transition work that we're expected to have completed by the 30th of June of 2019. And at that stage, we hope that virtually all of the major pieces of how we are going to operate as a single university will be realized. Just to let you know that the UW Fox Valley campus, which was formerly a campus of the University of Wisconsin Colleges, dissolved with the dissolution of the University of Wisconsin Colleges on the 30th of June 2018. The UW Colleges, as an accredited institution, does not exist anymore, and under the authority of UW Oshkosh, though the Fond du Lac and Fox Valley campuses are now part of this single university. You may have heard a lot about the restructuring that's been taking place. For instance, the Manitowoc and Sheboygan and Marinette campuses are now part of the University of Wisconsin Green Bay. So it's part of a bigger vision that President Ray Cross has in strengthening the local campuses that are present here in our communities, those that provide academic classes for our students, that provide access classes for our students, and for our returning adult students that provide community programming in fine arts and theater and music, and of course venues for public discussion and the type of functions that we would expect the university and a community to perform. And to talk a little bit more about some of the initiatives that we've been doing, I'll turn it over to Chancellor Levitt.
Thank you, Martin. My name is Andy Levitt, and I'm the Chancellor of the new University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, which is comprised of 3 campuses. And so you can see the photographs of the beautiful campuses on the screen. I think it's important to note how we are currently labeling these campuses, in that we do not see Fox Valley nor Fond du Lac as satellite campuses. They are full-fledged campuses of the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. And as a matter of fact, we designate Oshkosh as the Oshkosh campus. So we want to be very, very clear about that. I want to thank the mayor very much. The mayor has been a terrific participant in the process that we've gone through for the last 6 months. We still have a few meetings left. As a matter of fact, we've agreed to continue to meet. We have a community advisory group that meets monthly to talk about issues related to the restructuring, and this advisory group is made up of the mayors or equivalents of the 3 communities in which we reside, along with the county executives, and also prominent alumni and citizens that are from the area. And I might add, students. We have students from all 3 campuses, of course, on this, and so we get together on a monthly basis and we discuss what's happening in the communities. We discuss what's happening with restructuring. If you could go to the next slide, please. So this is what our vision is for the overall university, and I hope that you can appreciate the masthead that we have developed here, that in time will change depending on where we land on the branding of the entire university. But we will increase the educational attainment rate of the areas that we serve. That is our mission. We will help more people pursue knowledge and prosperity. That is our mission. And we will provide talent that the region needs. Between the 3 campuses, we're going to be close to 15,000 students in moving forward. And in last year alone, we produced easily 3,500, 3,700 college graduates between the 3 campuses that went into the communities. And the vast majority of our students, of course, are from here, and they remain here after they graduate, either with an associate's degree, a baccalaureate degree, or a master's, or in some cases a doctorate, which is really the magic of this new institution. Next slide. What we hope to do here very quickly in the future is to roll out select baccalaureate and master's programs onto the Fox Valley campus. So currently we have 1 completion program in human services, but I want you to imagine, for instance, being able to complete a BBA here, a business administration degree here, right on the Fox Valley campus, where you never have to have gone down to the Oshkosh campus to do that. Or already, this is the only location we have in our university where you can complete a master's degree in business administration, MBA. We only offer it here in the Fox cities associated with this area. So this is really going to be the strength of the restructuring, is the fact that we, in time, will roll these select baccalaureate and master's degrees onto the various campuses, so even lowering further the barrier for people being able to attain some type of post-secondary degree, whether it's an associate's degree, baccalaureate, a master's, or a doctorate. So next slide. What I would like to do is open it up to any questions that you may have, and Martin and I can do the best we can to answer the questions.
Alderman Sevenick.
Thank you, Mayor. So you're going to be calling all 3 campuses UW Oshkosh?
We are beginning a marketing study, and we're asking a lot of questions in that marketing study. For instance, how do we attract more students? How do we raise more money? But a small component of that marketing study is going to be what the name of the campuses should be, or even what the name of the entire university should be. Representative Stuck is an alumna of our institution, so I have to be careful here. It's a little sensitive.
I am too.
But I can envision a world where there's no longer UW Oshkosh. It's called something else.
I would probably like that, other than just calling all the campuses UW Oshkosh, because it's, to me, I'm anti-regionalizing things when it comes to just giving the name to the bigger community. I'm
Right.
so opposed to that. And I also am an alumni of both UW Fox and UW Oshkosh, where I earned my degrees at both universities. So I am also sensitive about this. And so, I mean, if you are to give it a name, you should, and I don't know where you gentlemen originally came from, but I was raised here, born here, and educated here, and this is the Fox Valley. And you want to call it Oshkosh or Menasha or Fond du Lac, that's not fair.
Right.
To me, this is the Fox Valley, so if I would be interested in anything, it would be the one university being the University of Fox Valley.
Well, the part of what we're going to do with the marketing studies, we need to ask that question because, first of all, we need, whatever decision we end up making has to be supported by data. It can't simply just be the feelings of individuals. It has to be, we have to do a robust marketing study to see what will provide more value to the region. Would it be keeping the name the same, or would it be changing the name?
My first choice would be keeping the names the same, but if you guys want to regionalize this, I wouldn't want it to be just Oshkosh.
Right, I understand that.
Thank you.
So if you notice, if you can go back one slide, there's something's happened to the logos that you see for Fox Valley and Fond du Lac. They're no longer red. They're black, and if you read the fine print, it says the campus of the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. We are now the accrediting body, if you will. The Oshkosh is the listed institution with the Higher Learning Commission, the Department of Education, because as Dr. Rudd had mentioned, there is no longer a UW Colleges. That has been dissolved. So what we have done in this interim year is to show that there's a transition in place here. One of the groups of names that we definitely want to test is essentially keeping the names just as they are here. We also want to look at extending the Oshkosh brand onto all the campuses, which, by the way, I would mention to you in the 6 other joinings across the system, because we're not the only ones doing this. Every single other joining, the receiving institution has put their brand on that on the county campus. So if you go to Barron County, now it's no longer UW Barron County, it's University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire Barron County. And so we understand the sensitivity of the name issue. It's actually, it makes a lot of sense for me because I think that we've inherited 2 of the strongest campuses in the system in terms of creating this new university. There's a lot of civic buy-in, a lot of civic pride with these campuses. And so this is something that we are handling with as much sensitivity as we possibly can.
I also, long-term vision, in some ways feel that there's a feeling and a fear that these 2-year campuses might become 4-year campuses competing with UW Oshkosh. Obviously, the University of Wisconsin-Fox Valley is probably the largest in the system of the 2-year campuses and growing. and they have traditional and non-traditional students, and housing has started in the area. So, I mean, my third choice would be that UW-Fox become its own four-year campus also.
Certainly. What I would tell you is that we are still committed to the Access mission. As a matter of fact, on the two-year campuses, on the Access campuses, you will pay Access tuition. You'll pay the lower tuition rate. That's guaranteed. We will continue to offer the full complement of associate's degrees as they exist today. We'll expand where it makes sense, economic sense to do that. So we're committed to the Access mission. We see this as an amazing opportunity to increase the pathways that people in this region, whether that be in the Fox Valley, in Oshkosh, or Fond du Lac, or beyond, can attain a degree, to two-year, four-year, baccalaureate, a master's, or a doctorate.
Where does the bachelor program go that's connected with UW-Platteville in the engineering area? I was also on the county board, so
Sure.
I have a little familiarity with this also being, you know, funded strongly by the county.
So you're exactly right. So back in 2011, the Outer Gaming and Winnebago County Boards provided about $3 million for the purchase and renovation of the former tool building that's adjacent to the campus on University Drive. And we turned that into a 40,000 square foot engineering facility to house the UW-Platteville Fox Valley Collaborative Engineering Program, which over the last 2 years has produced a record number of graduates, 19 mechanical engineering graduates trained and ready to work in this area in 2017, and 17 mechanical engineers this past year. So we're up to more than 140 graduates from that program since its inception in 2005. It's a remarkable success in public-private partnership. So you asked about where that program is going. That program has landed extremely well, partly because of the work that Chancellor Levitt has done with his counterpart at UW-Platteville in envisioning that facility, while UW-Platteville is now going to be joined with UW-Richland Center and UW-Baraboo, their commitment, in fact, their presence has been strengthened by a renewed partnership both with the UW-Fox Valley campus and with UW-Oshkosh. And so we have developed and signed some new memoranda of understanding on how the facility will operate, especially how students will move from one campus to another, and in particular, and one of the things that Chancellor Levitt has strong feelings about, courses are going to transfer much more readily from the Oshkosh system of campuses to the Platteville system of campuses. We want to make sure that the success of that program remains locally educating engineers. Virtually all of those students are working adults who are taking the evening classes in that program and enhancing their careers in their current places of employment. And so that commitment to the program remains very strong. And for all your past support of that program, thank you.
Will that be, I guess I missed it, but will it still be part of UW-Platteville, or will it be part of the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh?
So, that's a good question. So for the foreseeable future, it will remain part of the UW-Platteville brand. And the reason for that is that Platteville has 3 faculty who are permanently housed away from their campus in Platteville on the Fox Valley campus. And those are the people who teach the upper level, junior and senior level engineering classes, and in particular work with companies to provide senior design projects to help solve real problem needs. In fact, the mayor approached us a couple of years ago looking for some solutions on an electrical engineering problem, some solar solutions, and so we remain committed to that program through the partnership with UW-Platteville, but are pleased to see how it's been strengthened by the new presence of UW-Oshkosh.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Does anyone else have any questions? No? All I just want to comment what a pleasure it's been to be on the committee and the openness that Chancellor Levitt had and the understanding that he had about the two satellite campuses or the access campuses and how important they are for the identity of the two communities where they're located. And I think that's the one thing that shines through differently about this group of three campuses compared to some of the others. In fact, it was called the Lake Winnebago Restructuring Committee. It wasn't called the UW Oshkosh Restructuring Community, and he seems to have a very open mind towards changing those names and looking at some possibilities that we might have three new names rather than just UW Oshkosh taking over a system. So it's been great to work with him as well as some of the students to see some of the excitement that they have for their higher education that kindles some of my memories from long, long ago.
Indeed.
Any other questions? Thank you for coming tonight, gentlemen.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Item 2 is the minutes and communications to receive this evening. Do we have a motion? Alderman Sevenick?
Thank you, Mayor. Before I make the motion, I'd like to welcome Amanda Stuck to our meeting. We appreciate your attendance, and you're one of the few legislators that ever come and see us, so we thank you for that, and also for all your work you do for us in Madison. At this time, Mayor, I'd like for us to receive minutes A through K and communications L through T.
There's a motion and a second by Alderman Kruger. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Item G is the consent agenda. There are 3 items this evening. The minutes to approve from the Common Council meeting of July 16th and the Board of Public Works recommendations from July 16th for alternative 4 for the design of the intersection of Racine and Broad, and for the payment to Vinton Construction Company for the Main Street reconstruction project of $57,752.34. Does anyone wish to have any items separated this evening? Alderman Sevenick?
Item 3, the payment to Vinton Construction.
Alderman Taylor?
Item 2, alternative 4.
At this point, do we have a motion for the Common Council minutes from July 16th? Alderman Sevenick?
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I'll move that we approve our Common Council minutes of 7/16/2018.
There's a motion and a second from Alderman Kruger. Any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call, 7-0.
Do we have a motion for item 2? Alderman Sevenick.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I will, I'll forward to, I'm sorry, Alderman Kruger should actually take this. This is Board of Public Works. Go ahead. I'll move for alternative 4, the design recommended by the Board of Public Works for Racine and Broad Street.
There's a motion and a second by Alderman Kruger. Is there any discussion? Alderman Sevenick?
I'm sorry.
Whoops, I'm sorry, I got to hit the button.
Sorry, Alderman Kruger, I kind of jumped the gun on that because I wanted to speak on the issue and kind of address some of the things that Ms. Taylor brought up. She does make a very strong point, but there are reasons and circumstances. We inherited this bridge, and therefore we have to deal with what's being brought forward. I wasn't here in 2016 when that council decided to go along with Project J, which added 2 roundabouts. But we're living with it, and now we're dealing with a consequence of that, which is the Racine and Broad Street intersection. She does make a very strong and good point about actually no study being done there as far as what's the best alternative, other than all of us on the Board of Public Works looked at 5 different alternatives and came to the conclusion that this would be the best and safest.
Alderman Taylor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This happens to be in my district, and as you saw this last year, many residents from this neighborhood showed up here, most of them opposing this plan and opposing the bridge. Going back to R-1517, if that would have been sent out, I think, to our state legislature and to the state senate at that time, it could have been a different story, and we still don't have the answers why that didn't get out there. And here we're stuck with a situation that our downtown doesn't need this roundabout, and we don't need to lose businesses in the neighborhood. We don't even know if these businesses are going to relocate to our city. And they have a beautiful campus on the waterfront.
Alderman Taylor, we are talking about the intersection, not the roundabout this
Right.
evening?
And this is all connected to it, Mayor, I appreciate that. With the opposition to this, I don't know what choice we have besides just saying yes. And certainly I'm on record to say no on this project. And what if we all said no tonight? What would the state do? Would the state just come in and?
The state makes the final decision. They
Right.
take our recommendation under
So
advisement.
why should we even vote on it then? Because they're just going to give us the size that they see fit. And for residents not to be able to turn down their street instead of going downtown into a roundabout, coming back, it's not neighborhood friendly. We don't have the amount of traffic to deserve to have this. And then with a new development there, we allow a restaurant 25 feet, 50 feet back to make a left turn, but not all the residents on Broad Street. So it just doesn't work. And I hope some other of you aldermen vote no against this, because the state's going to do whatever they want anyways. And it's fallen on deaf ears. I talked to Governor Walker a couple weeks ago, and no response back. So it's amazing when Secretary of DOT, I spoke with him briefly, no response. Senator Roger Roth never showed up here. It's his hometown, doesn't even bother coming by. It's sad. The businesses downtown are going to lose with this whole project. We're going to lose all the stalls on the south side of Main Street, and we don't have that opportunity to lose that many stalls. So it's big government telling little government what to do.
Just so everyone knows, the stalls on that end of downtown, the current proposal is there would be one less on the north side of the street and one more on the south side of the street. So we'd have a net equal number of stalls to what's currently there.
That's not true, Mayor. We lose
That is
that whole
true.
south side of the street on the plans that we have been given, unless you know something more on this.
We told the DOT that that wasn't acceptable, and they did revise the plans.
Oh, did we
And
see that plan?
We just sent that out, I think, last Friday.
So you told the DOT,
That-
not this body? Oh, you got a lot of power.
I told the
Wow.
DOT it was not acceptable to lose that many parking stalls.
And we know nothing about it.
We've
In
been talking-
R-1517, you couldn't even send out the door, Mayor.
Alderman
That's
Taylor?
why we're at where we are today.
And I did send that to Roger Roth's office. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Alderman Grady?
Thank you, Mayor. I struggle with this too, but we as a council, we voted to accept alternate 4 as one of the options. I think there's 5 of them, correct? And this was the safest one, made Broad Street on that side of the street a two-way street. And this is kind of what we're going for, and I think based on the safest type of intersection for all, that we keep this the way it's planned.
Alderman Taylor?
Just that you touched on R-15 to Roger Roth's office. We got to the point where they said, oh, it might be behind a file cabinet. And I said, well, I'll hold if you want to look behind a file cabinet. That's how low it got, Mayor.
And we're talking about the Racine Street and Broad Street intersection. We're not here to
And,
debate
and what
other
we should
things.
do,
Alderman Taylor?
is take out the medium and make it item 6, and take out the medium so the people on Broad Street can at least turn left, not going all the way downtown, coming back. If the bridge is up, they're going to get stuck in that. They're not even going to be able to make a turn onto their street. And I think we all want to be able to make a left turn onto our streets. It's not that busy of a city, guys. 8,000 cars a day on Racine Street. So we should at least let the people make their left turn instead of putting up a roadblock to their neighborhood.
Seeing no further discussion, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call, 6-1.
Item I is action items. The first item is the accounts payable and receivable. Oops, did I miss one? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed number 3. I crossed it off when you wanted it separated. Alderman Sevenick?
Mayor, at this point, I'd like to suspend the rules. Based on your conversation with Alderman Taylor, you had mentioned that you had made personal changes to the roundabout situation without consent of this body or the Board of Public Works. Therefore, I'm going to ask that that item be placed on the Board of Public Works at our next meeting. As long as I continue to have the floor, at this time, I'll move for payment to Vinton Construction Company, contract unit number 2018-01, the Main Street Reconstruction Project, in the amount of $57,752.34, being payment number 4, and this is not yet the final payment. I take it? No, okay.
Is there a second?
I want to make sure. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Alderman Sevenick?
Thank you, and this is why I want to make certain, because now maybe the last 3 council meetings now, Alderman Taylor has brought up some issues pertaining to some of the work that's been out there, and from what I understand, you have not had an opportunity to have that meeting with the business owners and the mayor and staff, and I would like to see that accomplished so that everyone's satisfied before we give final payment.
Alderman Taylor?
And talking with the businesses and looking at the situation they have with this concrete work, it certainly doesn't meet the concrete standards about having expansion joints between the building and the sidewalk, and we need to make sure that.
And this is about the
that we shore
payment
this
this
up.
evening? If you'd like to set up that meeting, I have still not been contacted by anyone to
That's
set
why
up
we're
that
talking
meeting.
about the last payment when that comes.
So if you'd like to set up that meeting, you should contact Public Works Office and get that meeting set up. Any further discussion about the payment? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call, 7-0.
Okay, now we'll move on to action items. Item I is accounts payable and payroll for the term of July 19th through August 2nd. Do we have a motion? Alderman Kruger?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make the motion to approve the accounts payable and payroll for the term of 7/19/2018 through 8/2/2018 in the amount of $1,501,654.52.
It's a motion and a second, and I think Alderman Ted Grady. Is there any discussion? Alderman Sevenick?
I'm going to ask for unanimous consent that I be able to ask John the same question I've asked the last 3 council meetings. I won't even ask it. You know it?
I do know it.
Okay.
I have it memorized.
You got an answer for me?
On page 10 of the packet of the check register listing, there was a check there for $720 for the preparation for those 4 circles for the columns. So that is on this check run. And I did also follow up with a Mill Street Terminus project recap on there, so you can kind of see of how the regional funding was for the budget, and then how the estimated cost is significantly lower right now than the $135,000 that was originally budgeted for a year ago. And that, I think we're estimating like roughly about $110,000. It'd be 110, 120, 110 to 115,000 is what that end-up cost will be once all the project costs are in for the last 2 years.
Thank you. Mayor, I'm going to ask for that item to be separated because it was not a part of the original plan. And I feel very strongly when we just go off and do things on our own without council approval or consent on items. So I would like that particular check. Do you have the check number? To be separated, and then we can vote separately, and I can be happy.
I do. The check number would be to Twin City Monument Works Incorporated for check number 61939 for $720.
Okay, thank you. Got that, Mayor?
Yep. Any further discussion? So we have on the table the motion as amended that, well, it would be separated, I guess. So it's the entire check registry excluding that one check. Seeing no further discussion, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 7-0.
Then the separated item was, I forget which check number, but the check to Twin City Monument. And is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, if we could have a roll call vote, please?
Motion fails on roll call 3-4.
Okay. Alderman Sevenick?
We do have a dilemma here, though, don't we? Because the check's been sent, hasn't it? You guys deal with it. I warn you about this several times, that we should not send the checks out until this body approves it, because this might happen one day, and it just did. It's just like you want us to be a rubber stamp.
If I could comment on that, the original plans did show stone, salvaged stone within those areas, and that is salvaged stone from those projects. It was within budget, and we felt that that was an appropriate thing to use in that area, and we moved forward on it because it was within budget. Oh, Alderman Grady?
I'm not, no.
Oh, no?
No comment,
Sorry.
no.
So we'll move on. Item 2 is the beverage operators license applications. Is there a motion? Oh, I'm sorry, Steve.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make the motion to approve the beverage operators license applications for the 2017 through 2019 licensing period via the memo dated 8/1/18.
Is there a second? Second. There's a motion and a second by Alderman Ted Grady. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 7-0.
Item 3 is a Class B liquor license. Do we have a motion? Alderman Kruger?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to read this one without hacking the names on this one. I'm going to make the motion to approve the Class B liquor license applications for the Kriebels LLC, Rosita Eisenet agent doing business as Old Grog at 546 Broad Street in Menasha for 2018 through 2019 licensing year.
Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. You did a great job. Any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 7-0.
Item 4 is a listing agreement for 901 Airport Road. Do we have a motion? Alderman Krieger?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make the motion to approve the listing agreement for for 901 Airport Road.
There's a motion, a second from Alderman Tom Grady. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 7-0.
Item 5 is the Valley Marine Mart license. Is there a motion? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on. Item K is ordinances and resolutions. Item 1 is R2118. Do we have a motion? Alderman Sevenick?
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I'll move that we pass Resolution R 2118. This is for borrowing of $3,890,000 from the State Trust Fund and authorizing the borrowing and the issuance of certificate of indebtedness and levying a tax in connection with and therewith. Excuse me.
There's a motion and a second by Alderman Ted Grady. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Motion carried on roll call 7-0.
Item N is public comments on any matter listed on the agenda. Is there any? Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Can we bump back up to action items for Valley Marine Mart?
Sure.
I think there is at least I've only talked to one other alderman on the way in here about this, and there's a strong feeling that maybe we kind of look at where we are as far as, is this the right dollar amount that we should be charging?
Sure.
You know, just because it's been a standard thing that maybe we relook at that. I think that was probably the hesitation on some of us here. I'm seeing people shaking their heads. So I definitely think that this should reappear on the next agenda and probably give us some more information as far as how this dollar amount has been computated and what, in my opinion, I think it needs to be more. I'm not a realtor, I'm not an expert in this area, but it just seems like a very small amount considering when we wanted to lease out a small space over at the wharf building at the marina for less. So I think we need to relook at this. Unless someone wants to make a motion, but otherwise I just think we need to do that. Thank you.
So just for everyone's knowledge, the reconstruction of Water Street is scheduled for 2020, so this would likely be the last year that that license or lease would be granted because that space would likely be needed for that reconstruction and trail and other things in that area. So that's why we were putting it forward at the same rate as before, basically to reinforce the knowledge that this would be the last year that that company would be able to use that space. But we can definitely look at a different number if a council member wishes to look at a different number. Alderman Taylor?
Will they be notified about that this is going to be the last year?
They were notified either 2 or 3 years ago that this would be the last year. And
But then again, with whatever number we come up with, it should be.
it says right in the
Yeah. Thank you.
agreement, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no one else, we'll move back down to public comments on any matter listed on the agenda. Is there anyone who had comments this evening? That would be out of order until she does go over 5 minutes. Okay.
Is this
Mrs.
on?
Taylor? Yes, it is.
Sandra DeBill Taylor, 545 Broad Street. Of course, I'm very disappointed in your vote for the Broad and Racine Street intersection. I think it was rushed through. I think you're using the excuse that the DOT has to have an answer because they want to design the bridge. I'm sorry, but the DOT has been dragging their feet on the environmental site assessment report for over 2 years. 2 years ago, we were supposed to have a public hearing on that environmental site report. That was delayed until this year, and it still hasn't happened. The DOT keeps mandating things that have no reflection on what's going on here. When this bridge was first proposed, they had no intention and no obligation to do anything with the Broad and Racine Street intersection. Their obligation ended where the bridge ended. I specifically asked them. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, we're expanding this project, and the public was never informed. The council voted on an alternate that was never made public. The DOT said they had substantial meetings with the public. Officially, they've had 2 meetings dating back to 2015. Look on their website. They've had private little meetings, just like the mayor, and private little stakeholders and little groups here and there, but no public meetings. This whole thing has been a farce. It's what the mayor wants, and that's what's going to go. And then he convinces staff, 90% of which don't live here, to go his way. And it's frustrating. We're the ones paying the taxes on it. We're the ones who have to live with it. And none of you seem to care. You're a rubber stamp. And Becky's not even here tonight, and she's #1 stamp holder. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Taylor. Item P is another action items, and do we have a motion to adjourn into closed session? Oh, recess, sorry. So is there a motion to recess? Alderman Langdon, Alderman Sevenick?
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I'll move that we recess into committees.
Second.
The motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are at recess. Thank you.
And that's what we're doing, right? Going into our committees first.